Hey, thanks for tuning in to the second half. You know, I've met so many people, and a lot of people do so many different things in their lives. And I wonder, how do they find the time? How do they find the energy? Our next guest is a prime example. I'm reading his bio and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how can he do all these things? I'm gonna ask him how. And he's here today for us to get to know Don Lehn. Don, thanks so much for coming to the show.
You're welcome.
This way. So please have a seat.
Oh, thank you.
And thanks again for coming on the show.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right, so I've got a list of questions for you.
Uh-oh.
Well, you sent your bio in.
Well, so long as I can plead the fifth.
Okay, well, I'm just going to start with the first question that I saw, and it says, you're single.
Yes.
Are you looking? Can we help you find someone?
Well, I do have a partner.
Well, so you're not single.
Well, I'm not single, but I'm sort of not, well, I'm not married, but I'm cohabitating. I'm getting myself in trouble. No, her name is Anne, and we met a few years ago. She is a former person who worked for Ministry of Agriculture, and we had some mutual friends. And neither one of us wanted to get involved. And then we went to see the Lego movie, and we had popcorn, and it was true love after that, so don't ask. And we now have a child. He has 4 paws. He's almost 2 years old. He is the general manager of my company, Fraser Valley News. His name is Mr. Peanut Buttercup. He has a cat with a first and a last name. Yeah, Peanut runs the roost.
Okay, let's backtrack.
Okay.
Did you say you're the owner of Fraser Valley Network?
Yeah. I started Fraser Valley News a couple of years ago after the last time I was laid off in radio, which has been a few too many times. But the thing that I noticed that disturbs me with media in the Fraser Valley is that there are no radio station newsrooms left. They're all gone. I used to work for The Drive and my Chilliwack News and such, and all the others are done. And newspapers, unfortunately, are contracting. And I'm one of those old school guys that, even though they are our competition, quote unquote, I take personal offense when somebody loses a job.
Right.
I've been laid off 6 times in media, 5 in radio, 1 in film. So I get that. And when I see job losses, and I hate the term fake news, but there are some fake news sites out there, and I thought, now is the time to really get involved in social media, to start this up, put it on 3 platforms, a webpage, Facebook and Twitter, and really do something for one end of the valley to talk to the other. And when I started doing my business plan, and a big shout out to Community Futures and to Small Business BC, they were shocked what I found out, that one end of the valley was not talking to the other end of the valley in a commercial venture. And I thought, okay, I'm taking that as a subtle hint. Let's do this.
So how long has it been going?
We just celebrated our 2nd year.
Oh, very good. Congratulations. Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you. The business plan we had was 3 years to
Right.
really get going.
Right.
Because we're not the only one out there. There's a lot of independent blogs and a lot of really great independent blogs. Don't get me wrong there. But nobody was doing it on a commercial level, and bring my expertise of 30 years of radio and such to the table and take it from there. And we really try and strive not just the hard news, but local sports. We do a lot of work with UFV, with the University of Fraser Valley and the Cascades, and local entertainment. It's easy to say, Bob Dylan's coming to Vancouver, but what about the Fringe Festival and Rick Rack and some of the other stuff that's happening in Chilliwack and Abbotsford? And again, goes back to Abbotsford wasn't really talking to Hope, Agassiz wasn't really talking to Mission. Well, that's why we're here.
Okay, so were you a freelance journalist, or how did that work?
I started off when I graduated from BCIT in '79. That's when I use a sports euphemism, I turned pro in beautiful downtown Grand Forks, BC, all those years ago. I was at the time, I'm not now, at the time I was the youngest radio, not journalism, radio grad at BCIT. I was barely 19.
Right.
And right from the get-go, I had instructors saying, you really should go to journalism, you really should go to news and sports, and I'd have none of that. I wanted to be the next morning guy of LG 73. I wanted to be the new Doc Harris. I wanted to be the next Fred Latrimo. I wanted to be the next Red Robinson. And right off the bat, I was doing news and sports on the side all the time, as well as jockeying. And when I got to Regina, of all places, I started doing journalism a little more headlong. Back then, this was in the mid '80s, and the old FM rules, and you had these this foreground programming that you had to do. So I co-hosted that, and then that was from 1 to 1:30, and at 1:30, a little bit of Led Zeppelin, Z99, Regina's Best Rock, and away you go. And I didn't go into news full-time until, ironically, and the gods of radio were smiling, I did it in Ottawa.
Is that right?
What you can't better, and my news director was an ex-jock, so he knew what I was going to get into. Excuse me, and the mistakes I was going to make, and made all the mistakes. Ran around Parliament Hill, and learned my craft the hard way. Making mistakes.
Now you mentioned, I already mentioned MC. Who, when, who, where?
Oh, one of the cool parts of being in radio, let alone doing what I do, is you get to MC a number of different shows. So one of my favorite memories was a then up-and-coming band that nobody really knew about. This was in Ottawa before I went from announcing to news full-time, and they released a cassette single. And everybody said, no, this isn't going to work. These guys aren't going to make it at all. A very uninspiring band that really didn't have no future whatsoever, named the Bare Naked Ladies. And the first show we did was, Carleton? I think Carleton University. The second show was the NRC, or not the NRC, the National Theatre. The third one was in front of 30,000 people at Lansdowne Park. And that's when you knew these guys have a future.
Cool. So Don, let's talk about your public speaking that you mentioned.
One of the really cool sidebar benefits of what I've been doing the last 30 some odd years is, you get to introduce concerts and stuff like that, but when you're asked to MC events for organizations that you may have not at first think will make an impact on you. And it's really cool that you can actually just give back. And you think, well, you're going to be making so much money, so much in dollars doing these things. The fun ones, the real fun ones, are not the paid ones. It's just giving back to the community, because there will always be sidebar benefits where somebody sees you and they'll want to do some work with you, and that's not the reason you do it.
Right.
But those are some of the benefits that come across from it. But the big thing is when you just meet some really cool people along the way, and being a people person or a people watcher because of what I do for a living, that's cool. It's just fun.
Now you mentioned something about the Alano Club?
The Alano Club.
Alano,
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, the Chilliwack Alano Club is basically a safe haven. It's a clean and sober environment for people to meet. It's the home of a number of 12-step recovery meetings for Alcoholics Anonymous, Al-Anon, Narcotics Anonymous, and such. I'm one of those. I don't hide the fact that I've been clean and sober for over 20 years, because if I can give back, then I will. The latest, though, is the fake news.
Yeah, what is that?
That's just Donald Trump.
Oh,
that is,
yeah.
And the problem is it's become part of the lexicon.
Right.
And unfortunately, there are some bloggers out there, and it's just the nature of the beast with social media, that they think they're putting out real news when in fact they're doing a disservice to a number of people, and really a lot of times they're doing disservice to community organizations, because they're feeding all this false crap. I like to say something harsher, but I can't, although I would. But you roll with it. It's no different than when I was at News 1130 in Vancouver, and a lot of news people in the industry said, well, you're News Light, you're not CKNW, you're not CBC. No, we're News 1130, it's top 40 news. That's how we always looked at it. We got to get it out. It's a 1 hour wheel, and you expect your headlines every 15 minutes and your sports at 1:45 and 1:15, and that's just how it is. And in a way, from News 1130, some of that philosophy is actually woven into how I run Fraser Valley News. It's get the information out as accurate as possible, as quickly as possible, and if you have to correct yourself, man up and say, nope, we got it wrong. Here's what's really happening, or we made a mistake. Here's the correct information.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's a good thing, and it would show integrity.
Well, I think so, and it just makes sense to me, just new sense. But, and again, there'll always be the ones saying, well, you're not the CBC. Well, I could say something about being long-winded, but I won't. Oh, I said that with my outside television voice. Yeah.
Okay, now you mentioned, we're changing the subject totally, because like, what the heck, right? You mentioned different hobbies. Okay, you mentioned music.
Yeah.
What type of music do you have?
I'm one of those, I'm a music collector. I have, much to my partner's chagrin, as Ann trips over my CDs, I have about maybe 2,000 or 3,000 CDs.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so it's the front, our living room is actually kind of like a mini studio similar to this. Sorry, honey, as you're watching. And, but lots of places for the cat to hide. But I'm a music collector, classic rock, classic country. Early in my career, I worked at country radio when it was morphing from outlaw to urban cowboy. So that was a fun time where, you know, I emceed Chris Christopherson and Ricky Skaggs in Victoria. I mean, you got to meet Waylon Jennings, my hero, one of my heroes.
Oh, that is so cool. Are you a hoarder?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I kind of cut that, you know?
With the CDs, and the other thing I collect is rock T-shirts, where my closet is filled with those, and my partner's clothes are kind of around the corner in bags.
So it's usually the other way around,
yeah.
obviously, right?
Yeah. Whoops.
Well, she must be very tolerant.
Yeah, I don't have too many scars on the back of my head from the frying pan, but no, Ann is the salt of the earth and puts up a lot with me. But the reason for that is she worked for the Provincial Ministry of Agriculture for 6 years, so she worked provincial politics for 6 years. That was easy for her. Now she puts up with me. It's like, yeah. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. You're a pain, right?
Oh my gosh, it's been so much fun, but we're out of time.
Oh, already?
I know. It's just like time just sort of flies, you know?
Yeah, really bad coffee, by the way. Oh, never mind.
Yeah, well, that's because it isn't.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for being here.
You're
I really
welcome.
appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Now, if you want to get a hold of us, you know how. See you next time. Peace out.